All right. Welcome, everyone. Today, what we're going to do is take a look at Apple's all-new app, Freeform, and basically what you can do with it, what it is, and even towards the end, what I'm going to do is collaborate with someone over in the Oregon coast so we can kind of see how it all works with collaboration. This is a pretty neat little app. It's a very basic app, but I could see how it is pretty powerful, and I don't know. I think it's kind of a neat little thing here. So we're going to get started here, and what I'm going to do is pin my screen here. I'm going to ask everyone if it's blurry or not. Sometimes it seems like it's blurry, so let me know. Is it clear, blurry? Are we good? We're good. Perfect. Okay. Because otherwise what I could do is go to the shared screen, but this just works really simple for me, so I like using this process here. Okay, so let's get right into it and talk about Freeform. What is the Freeform app? So basically what the Freeform app, Apple just introduced this maybe about a month ago. It came out with 16.2 or something like that. And basically what it is, it's an app that can help you brainstorm ideas by yourself. So what I'm going to be using it for is there's a possibility that I'm going to be coming out with an app for all my tutorials. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work yet, or if Apple will put it in the App Store. But I'm putting ideas down, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this within the Freeform app. And the way that I like to describe or the way that I think of the Freeform app is we have our Notes app, right, where we can put notes in there, and then what we can do within the Notes app is draw in there. Most of us probably know that you can put simple drawings in the Notes app. But primarily what it is it is a Notes app with the addition of drawing. So let's reverse that. That's basically what Freeform is. Freeform is the reverse of that. It's basically a drawing app, and you can add like little notes to it. So it's just reversed out. So it all depends on how you want to think. If you like to sketch ideas out on a napkin and all that, that's where Freeform comes in. If you want to write your notes, like with typing and all that, that's where notes come in. So they kind of play off of each other, or they work in a different way. So basically what you can do with the Freeform app, and this is according to Apple, you can plan a trip. We're going to Arizona tomorrow. And what I could have done is I could have collaborated. We're going to visit some friends over there, and I could have collaborated on through the Freeform app on some ideas where we want to hike and all that. We can build a storyboard. We can sketch an idea. There's that napkin thing. And I thought this was kind of humorous. Create a seating chart. I guess maybe if you're like at a dinner table or something, but basically you just sketch out a seating chart, and all done with Freeform. This is done by the way of boards. So basically what we're going to have is we're going to have a board, and then we can just put all different things on there. So think of your big foam board, or if you're back in art, you had these big boards and you just put whatever you want on there. That's what it is. This board can be this big with just text here. It could be as big as my desk here, and you can have stuff over here and over here and over here and over here and move things around. So it's just a board, and you just put what you want on there. So that's basically what Freeform is. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at it on the Mac, iPad, and iPhone. Just kind of give an overview of it. I am going to be creating lessons on it as well, and it's going to be 3 different lessons, and one of them is going to be for the Mac, so I'll get into more detail on the Mac, and the other one's going to be on the iPad, and then of course the third one's going to be on the iPhone. So for people that are on an iPad, all they have to do is watch the iPad version. People that are on the Mac, all they have to do is watch the Mac. If you have both a Mac and an iPad, you could watch both, although I think you'll probably figure it out. They're very similar. And if you have an iPhone, you could watch the one on the iPhone. But in this class here, excuse me, I'm going to try to keep it about an hour. In this class here, what we're going to do is just cover it on all 3 of them, so I can kind of just show you where things are and all that. So look for those videos in the next few weeks. All right, so let's take a look at the Freeform app. And primarily what I'm going to do is probably show you on the iPad. And the reason why I'm going to show you on the iPad is that's where it really shines, because I have a pencil. You don't have to have a pencil, but it just makes it really easy. You just, draw on the screen, and it's good to go. But you can obviously do it on the Mac and the iPhone, which I'll show you as well. So let's go and take a look at how we can create our first freeform board. And we're going to do this on my iPad first. All right, there's my iPad, and you're going to see that I have this Freeform app. So this app here, if you're using an older version of iPad OS or Mac OS or iOS, you will not have this. You need to have, I believe it is 16.2, and on Mac OS Ventura, you must, it's probably like 12.1. It didn't come out initially when Mac OS Ventura came out. It didn't come out when iPad OS came out. iPad OS 16, it came out with like 16.2 or whatever. So you may have to go and find it, or make sure that you've updated to the latest version of your operating system. So let's open this up and just take a look at what a board is. So I'm just going to go and create a new board here. And essentially, this is a board. I'm hoping, you should be able to see. There's little dots here. It's like a little grid pattern. And basically, all I have to do now is just choose I got to move my closed captioning here. Up towards the top, these are all the different tools that we have available to us. So much like in Pages and Keynote and Numbers, anyone that uses the Apple iWork apps, these are going to look very familiar. So I have shapes. And I can just go and add a shape. So let's go and add a circle. Whoops, I just need to click on it. And there, I've just added my circle. So it's pretty easy to go through and add the different things. Over on the left, we can rename it. So we just click on this, and you're going to see rename. So I can duplicate it. I can favorite it, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I can hide that grid. So if you don't want to see those little dots in the back, you can go and hide the grid. And then when you're done, or really anytime, you could export this out as a PDF, and it'll save it to the Files app. This is our markup tool. So we have our standard markup tools across the bottom. I have notes, sticky pad. I can add these notes in there. We've seen the shapes, and you can see I just have these different. This is just the standard stuff that we see in the iWork apps. I can add text. And then I can even add images from my Photos app, or take a photo from my camera. I can scan something using the camera, and then I can link or even insert it from my Files app. And we'll get a little more detail on how all this works. Right now I'm just kind of giving you an overboard of where the tools are and all that. We have our undo, so I can just undo, and I can share this, which we'll show you shortly. I'll show you shortly with Steve how we can share this, and then we can work on a board together. And if I want to create a new board, just click on the little plus there, and I create a new board, much like a note. Remember, this is just like notes, except maybe to think of it for drawing, that kind of thing. And then down at the bottom, we have our scale, bottom left. And what I'm able to do is scale it. So you're going to see, I'm going to go to 10%. You're going to see that this board can get really, let's go and add a shape here. You can get really small with that board. You can see oops. So this board can really get quite large. So basically all you're doing is just putting stuff on here. And when you're done, you just go back to the left arrow, and you're back at all of your boards. You're going to see that this looks pretty similar on the Mac. So let's go and take a look at this on the Mac. So here is all my boards, and being that I'm using iCloud, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, you're going to see that my new board or the two new boards, these are the two new boards that I just created, show up on my Mac because I created them on my iPad and I'm using the same iCloud account. So you can start on one device and continue on the other. So when I go and open up this board, I can go and add a new shape, put it over there, and when I go back over to my iPad, If I opened up the right one, what we're going to see is that bed there shortly. Hopefully. It should show. It will show. I have confidence in it. But with the Mac, basically we have the same thing. And actually, if you look at this, I'm going to switch back and forth. You're going to see I have all my categories on the left side for the boards on the Mac. Look at how it looks on the iPad. They are, it's virtually one and the same. This is one of those Catalyst apps, I believe. So what Apple does is they develop it on the iPad, and then they fork it over to the Mac with a few more features or whatever. But basically, it's the same app on both devices. So when we go to up towards the top, this is where I name it, just like before. This is where I can go and add stickies, shapes. As you can see, you learn it on one device, and it's going to be good to go on the other, and especially the Mac and the iPad. Now on the phone, of course, it's going to be a little different on the phone. But essentially, I need to fix something here. That is not my iPad Pro. There, it is my phone. There we go. Okay. So now we're looking at it on my phone here, and we have my boards, just like before. Go to my boards. I go to Untitled 4. Tap on it. And where are my shapes and all that? Well, I'm zoomed in to this board. So what I need to do is I just need to pinch out, and now I can see those shapes and everything that I've added. All I'm doing is just pinching and squeezing my fingers there. Up towards the top, we have our share. We have more. When I tap on more, this is where I can go and rename it, much like on the iPad when we in the upper left-hand corner. What I was able to do is go in here, rename, duplicate, all that kind of stuff. Well, on the iPhone, it's just located under the More button here in the upper right-hand corner. So that's where you can
Dan,
go
can
and
I
do all
ask you a
that.
quick question?
Go for it.
I see the tools. The tools are nice.
Mm-hmm.
I see that it's a notepad.
Mm-hmm.
What's the ultimate thing that this application is supposed to be good to help you do?
Draw. Brainstorm. I'll get into that in a minute. I'm almost done with the layout here. And then we'll start putting stuff on there and yeah. And it all depends on if you're right or left brain. I'm going to say that right now. This app isn't going to be for everybody, I'm sure. So we have the notes, and then down at the bottom we have all of our different tools here that we can add. So that is the basic layout of these of Freeform. So now let's get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty and figure out what we can do with it, how we add text, how we add media files. We're also going to look at how we can style these and things like that. So basically, let's say I did want to build a seating chart. So here's my table. We're having people over, kind of thing. So what I'm able to do now here is go and add, more things. Let's make this a little bit smaller. And essentially, I could build a seating chart here. And I can take all these, duplicate that, put it over here. And if I wanted to go and add names in here, I can do that. So essentially, I've just built a seating chart for a birthday dinner or something along that line. Or let's go and create a new one. I want to build an app for my site. I mean, that's what my ultimate goal is. So I have my pencil. It's going to be a little easier on the pencil with the pencil. But basically, I go up to the shapes, and first of all, I need a phone here. And now what I can do is I can go in here and say that's one button at the bottom, duplicate it. Here's another button, duplicate it. Here's another button. What do I want across the top? I could duplicate it, put something across here at the top, and this is going to go all the way across. And, well, actually, let's go add an arrow here, and I can say this needs to, and I can put text here, needs to do that. So you kind of get the idea, that's basically what it's for, sketching out ideas and things like that. You can go and style these. You can change colors. I can go and add an image in here. Like I said, let's just go and add this image in here. Inserting, there it is. And I could say I'd like to have that as the background, or maybe that would be the logo. I can go put more text in here, and then I could go over here and double tap to insert text and basically say this is what I need. Now what I'd be able to do then, let's say I was going to give this to somebody that's actually writing the app, I'd be able to export this out, and they'd have all of my notes. And you can see that this thing I can draw multiple screens. So that could be one screen, and I could draw another screen and another screen, and basically they'll have a rough idea of a layout, and I'm just kind of quickly putting this together. You could also use it, especially if my brother's remodeling his kitchen. So what he could have done is, sketched out an idea. So let's see he explained it to me what he's doing. So his house is like this, or his kitchen. And his counter goes like that, He has a wall here, and then he has a table here. So essentially what he is wanting to do is move, and I'm going to change the color here. He's moving this over here a little bit. So he's going to have more room in this area here. And what I'd be able to do is draw it out. Whoops, I didn't want to do that last part. I'd be able to draw it out, and basically he could sketch it out. So that's the idea behind it is you could just go through here and just draw out these different ideas for anything that you have. And like I say, you don't have to be an artist. Obviously, I'm not an artist. But it kind of gets the idea. So my brother and I, some of you know that my brother and I, we meet every Tuesday, and my sisters will meet us every once in a while for pizza and beer. And our fun thing that we like to do is, we've lived through, as a family, we've lived in probably 4 or 5 houses. So what I like, let's see, when I was in kindergarten, so I was 2 houses before I was in kindergarten. So that was before 5. So what we have done, and this sketch thing would be perfect. Freeform would be perfect for this. What I've done in the past is on a piece of paper, like this is the layout of the first house that I remember us in, and we had a room over here, and it had a piano. My mom plays the piano, and we could not walk into this room. That was an absolute no-no. We had a bathroom over here, and I'm like 4 or 5 years old, and I remember all this stuff. And our kitchen was over here. We had a sliding door over here. The stereo with Donovan and Crosby, Stills, and Nash, that was all right down here. Our garage was right here. This is where the cars were, And then if you'll see shortly what I could do is I could share this with my brother, and he's going to be able to draw on it at the same time as us. So he would be like, well, actually, no, that wasn't there. It was over here, kind of thing. So it's just a fun little tool to just kind of do stuff like this with. That's, basically what I would, at least that's how I picture it, because I am not an artist, but you could use it as as a thing. I mean, you do have most of the tools down across the bottom there that you could do that. So
how do you get it to your brother then? I mean,
I'll show you.
Put the red. Okay.
Yep. So right now, so that's basically how the boards work. And I see somebody asked about deleting, and I'll show you that when we talk about boards all together. But the next thing, so I've drawn on these different boards. The next thing that you may want to do is, basically move some of the stuff. You want to resize it. You want to layer these. When I go back over to this one here, I want to take this, and I'd like to have this over on top of the blue. Well, as you can imagine, you're going to see we have the little blue handles here. And what I'm able to do is take this, move it. I can grab a handle, make it larger. I tap on this one, and we can see that we can move it. Tap on this, I can move it. I tap on it. I'm able to duplicate it. You're going to see that we have the double A's and duplicate. I can change the color, just by clicking on it and changing the color. If I wanted to move this to the front, I could do that. So that's where, like a deck of cards, you can move it, change the rounded corners, add a shadow to it. You can lock it to where you can't do anything with it. If I lock it, now I can't do anything. I can do it with other items. I didn't lock the board. What I did is just lock that one item. And then I tap on the lock to unlock it again. Crop it. So to get the extra tools, what we do is all we have to do is just tap on it, and we're going to see our extra tools. So let's take a closer look at that. This is how we style our text, media, files, and things like that. The key is tapping on them. So if I wanted to change the color, as you saw on there, all I have to do is just tap on the color. I can change the color. Let's go with purple. If I wanted to draw, let's go ahead and draw on here. And what I would like to do is change that. If we tap on it, let's get rid of this drawing tool here. You have to tap on the drawing tool. When you go into the drawing tool, so I'm going to tap on that and I draw, it is now locked into the drawing tool. So I can't grab anything. You can see as I'm touching it, it's putting different things in there. So what I have to do is I have to go up here and turn it off. Now that it's off, what I'm able to do is just go in here and select different things, and I can move them around. And this is also where I can go, if we look here, where I can go and change the color, the brush size, all that kind of stuff. It works the same way on the Mac. So when we go over to the Mac here and I click on it, you're going to see I can change the color of that sticky note. I click on this, I'm able to change the color of the table. I click on this, I can change the font size. I can style it, make it underline, bold, change the font. So the key to making this all work is you click on it. And again, the iPhone is, as you can imagine, same kind of thing. I tap on it. Now I want to change the color of that. What do? Tap on it. And you're going to see down at the bottom, I have all of my different tools. So I can go and change the color. Tap on it. And now I can change the color of that. So when I was playing around with this, I was fumbling around trying to figure out, okay, yeah, but I want to change the color. I want to do this. Like I say, the key to making that all work is just tap on it, and then you're going to see the tools come up depending on what device you have. And then from there, what you're going to be able to do is just go and change it. And that is basically how we work, on a board. Draw on it, and that kind of thing. Does anyone have any questions about the boards themselves? As you can see, it's a pretty simple app, but I think it's kind of cool how you could, work with somebody, and we'll see that shortly with Steve. So, yes, George, this is being recorded. So, no questions on the boards? All right. Let's take a look at how we organize these. So I've drawn my boards. I can add stuff to it. I can style it. I can move things around. And when I work on them, they work on all my devices. Now what I'd like to do is just organize them a little bit better. In order to do that, we'll first look at it on the iPad. Since I'm on my iPad here, all we have to do is just go up to the upper left-hand corner. You're going to see the little caret there. And when you click on the caret, you're going to see all of your different boards. And then from here, all I have to do is just click on them to open it up. If I want to delete one, I long press on it, and then you're going to see rename, favorite, duplicate, share, and delete. So let's go ahead and delete this one. I move to a recently deleted folder. So now I have my recently deleted folder there, and I have 30 days to pull that board out. So I could pull that board out. Now, if you're working on a board, let's go with this board here. What I would like to do is favorite that. So then if I have a lot of boards, I would like to easily find this one. In order to do that, you could go to the caret up here when the board is open, and then you're going to see Favorite. When you favorite it, it puts it into this little section here. I can also long press on any one of them. So let's go with this one here. If I long press, I have Favorite. And now this one is also in my favorites. On the Mac, pretty much the same thing. Go to all my boards. We can see we have the heart there, which means it's favorited because I favorited on the iPad. I can control click, favorite. And if I open it up, double click on it to open it up, I believe it's under, no, maybe you can't do it from inside here. Can't do it from inside here. So you have to favorite it from outside there. A little shortcut to favoriting on the Mac is you're going to see this little heart here. All I have to do is just click on it and it favorites it. I click on it again and it takes it out of the favorites. Now on the iPhone, just because of how the real estate is, it's smaller, what we have to do is go to the caret in the upper left-hand, corner, and then you're going to see that this one's favorited. And if I go to Freeform in the upper left-hand corner, I can view all my different categories. There they are. I do not want this one to be favorited. I long press. I go to unfavorite. I can delete it. And then, of course, I can share it and rename it. So organizing the boards are really simple as well. Just a real simple. We can favorite them. I don't think there's any way, and maybe this is going to come down, there's no way to categorize. Use groups. But groups is by shared, so it's going to group them by shared. So I can't put these into a folder yet. But what I can do is view them by list. So if you have a lot of them, you can view them by list. And I'm able to change, when they are sorted, the sort order. So we can sort it by name. And when I tap on the little caret here, it's going to reverse that. It's going to reverse that sort order. I'm going to go back over to icons. Being that this is more of a visual app, I like to keep it at icons. But if you have a lot of them, that's what you can do. Organize them by list or view them by list. So that's how the boards work and how we keep them all organized. Then what we can also do with these is search and find and replace text. So let's say you're working on something and what you would like to do is change the text in it. You're working on an idea. And let's say you're brainstorming, a name for something, and all of a sudden you're like, that's not the name I want. I need to change that name. Well, what you're able to do is search and replace. So when I open up a board here, let's go with Steve's board here. This is what we worked on earlier. So what I would like to do is change this Aaron Rodgers to a different name. So
don't you dare.
I just go on Command F. I can find, so Aaron, there we can see it found Aaron. And I can go and change the text size and all that for it. And if I want to replace it, now I just type in what I want to replace it with. Mahomes rules.
Quick insert is that you're seeing Dan do this live. It's actually changing my canvas right now, even without the invitation yet, because we've already shared this canvas before. So he's actually seeing an updated version of the canvas that he didn't see an hour ago.
All right, so I go replace, and now we can see it says Mahomes. On the iPad, you're going to see it already says Mahomes because they're just syncing. And if I wanted to find and replace, you're going to see find here, Command F, And let's see, is it under here? Now here's a question. I don't know how to find and replace if you don't have a keyboard. Sometimes I get so used to this just being a, because I have my iPad with a keyboard. I'm gonna have to come back to that.
R. Command R for replace.
Well, I was wondering if you don't have a keyboard, how do you find and replace? I guess you need a keyboard, but yeah, whenever you do a find, if you click on the little, it's kind of hard to see because it's this blue color, but you're going to see that when you click on the magnifying glass here, what you're going to see is find and replace. So now what I'm doing, you can see I'm not changing that. You can see who Steve changed that back to Aaron Rodgers. So we're working on this at the same exact time. He went back and changed it while I'm sitting here doing a find and replace on my iPad. So now I can just go in here and say find Aaron and then replace it with whatever I want. So another good example of this is, let's just say you misspelled something. What you're able to do is just go and find it, and then you can replace it.
Can you try the microphone down? See
What?
if you can, since you don't have a.
Oh, yeah, you
Microphone
could,
and
microphone, I can dictate. Yeah, let's do it. Rogers. Yeah, it's not doing it.
It's coming up as Spanish.
Yeah. But that's essentially what it might be my setup here. It's not allowing me to do that. On the iPhone, and we'll see this shortly. So Steve is changing that number 1 to number 2. He just changed that. I did not. And you're going to also see, go ahead and tap on that, Steve. You're going to see it has a little blue icon. And if I zoom out here, we should see that it should say Steve is working on it somewhere. It changes the color. So if you can have more than one person, more than 2 people working on it. So and the blue indicates that it is Steve. And if I work on it, he's going to see a different color there, saying that I'm working on it. Down at the bottom, well, see now he's changed. Dan's the number 33 fan of Aaron Rodgers. Nice. So essentially, you can be working on this. As you saw, Steve is just playing around. He has an iPad Pro. He's just playing around with it on his iPad Pro, and I'm going from device to device to device, and I'm able to go and work on this. So for collaboration, it's a really huge, I think it's really pretty cool how it all works. So how do we before we get into the collaboration and how Steve and I set this up, the last thing I want to mention is that we can access, as you saw, access these from all of our different devices. Now, the one catch that I have found is you need to turn this on. I had to do this on both of my devices. When Steve and I did a test earlier today, I had to turn it on before it would work. In iCloud, let's go to my Mac. And if we go to my system settings, because you do need to use macOS Ventura, so you're going to be going to your system settings here. When you go to your iCloud here and go to iCloud, what you're going to see are all the different services, and there's going to be one called Freeform. In my case, and I don't know if it was just me, but this was off. So it would not collaborate between all my different devices. So I thought I better add this slide in here to, let people know. I mean, it just wasn't on. So once I turn this on here, then everything all just kind of worked. You really only have to turn it on one device, I believe. But if you didn't, I'll just show you on the iPad. Real simple. iCloud settings. We just go to our iCloud settings, iCloud, and show all. We have Freeform here. We just need to make sure that that is on. Do it on the iPhone as well. You only have to do this once. And then once you do that, all of your Freeforms are going to be working on all of your different devices. So you can jump from one device to another and just start working on all these different ideas. Now let's take a closer look at how Steve and I set this up to share and collaborate. essentially, Apple has really simplified collaboration, and I'm going to have a separate class on this, I think, in a few weeks. I'm putting the pieces together. But essentially, they made it really simple on this app, and I believe in other apps they have as well, to share documents. In the past, what you had to do is go and send it to someone. They had to get an invitation, and I think with some stuff it still works that way. But essentially, with the way that Freeform works is I just go and share it. I send a message through messages, or it could be email, however you want to send it. It's basically you're sending them a link. And then all the other person does, in this case, all Steve has to do is just click on that link. And if he has Freeform, it'll open it up, and we are collaborating. That's really how simple it is. So what I'm going to do is create a new board. And let's just go and add a photo in here. We will just go with this one, a little Disney pic here. And I want to share this. Maybe we're going to Disney and I'm inviting Steve along, and we could brainstorm on some ideas of where we want to go and all that kind of stuff. So I want to share this with Steve. So all I have to do is just go to the share icon in the upper right-hand corner. And you're going to see, because I sent Steve already, one board, it's already up here on the top, but essentially all I have to do is just go to messages. I could go to mail. I just have to get this link to him somehow. So I'm just going to click on Steve here since I already did it, but basically this is all through messages. So I click on Steve. There it is. It's going to send this. I click on send. And now Steve, and I'll show you how this works. Steve's going to do this for me, when we get done with this, and you're going to see what Steve is going through right now. But basically what Steve is doing is he is opening up his Messages app on his iPad. He's clicking on that link that I sent him. It's going to open up in Freeform, and then he's going to see this board, and what he's going to be able to do is start drawing on it or do whatever he wants. He could add photos. He could add ideas. It's basically we're working together on that board. And if I want, there he is. He just added that image. I'll go hands-free. Go ahead and keep adding there, Steve. Move it around, and you're going to see that as he's, when he taps on it or whatever, you'll see a little S every once in a while. That tells me that it's Steve working on that, and I'm just sitting here, And we can even go as far as I can go, well, let's put this over here. And if I go to my shapes, we're going to connect to these two. So now I've just connected those. And watch, that arrow is going to sit there and stay connected as I move it around. And as I'm moving this around and added that arrow, Steve is seeing that same thing. So if I wanted to manage... Oh, go ahead.
Dan, does it have hierarchical capability? Can I make one document a subdocument of another?
No, it doesn't. There's no folders or anything like that as of yet. I'm going to assume that that's got to be coming. Why wouldn't you, right? But there's no folders that I could find when you look at your boards.
It's almost like a way to construct a website.
Yeah, you could absolutely use it for something like that. Absolutely.
But you have to be able to refer one document to another.
Yeah. And this could be where what you could do is, let's say that I wanted to create a Disney website. So, this one here, and what I could do is go and add another photo. We will go with this, got to have tulips, right?
Absolutely.
And, this, I could then go to my linking tool here. And all I have to do is say this links to this as well. Or I could say, actually, but I don't want it to link there. I should be able to lift that. There. And Steve's doing, as I'm working on this, Steve is adding something else there.
Is it linked just in replacement?
Yeah, all it is, the link is basically it's just a line, but it connects the two. So as you move it around, it stays connected. So what I'm able to do is go down here. People with FileMaker Pro and the relationships, if you get on the geeky side, you can relate one thing to another and it draws a line. That's basically what you're doing here. Just makes it easy to relate different so you can kind of see that they're related. And if I zoom out here, like, I'm not having enough room there. So now what I'm able to do is take this and move it here. This line here should go there, but I don't want it to be, I need it to be back on this. Take this, move it over here. And now as I move these, so you could say this is our main page of a website. I want this to be one page, this to be another page, add another page, add another page. And then you could add sub pages to that. And as you move them around, so let's go and add one more in here. So this is now going to be a sub page of that. So I just go in here. So as I move this around, whoops, I didn't connect it. There it goes. Now I can move these around. And you can see they stay connected. So you can kind of build a flow chart for the most part, And then if you want to add a little sticky in here so I can tell, hey, Steve, this is about this. And I can go in here and just say, and if I want to connect that, what I can do is just go to my shapes here. I'm just going to use a simple arrow this time. But that arrow is kind of hard to see. So if I click on it, let's go and make it thicker. Change the color. And now that note is pointing to that. Now I didn't connect them. So you do have to, that's not a connecting, it's just an arrow. So, as things move around. But you can kind of get an idea of, how this thing all works. So, or what I could be like over here, and Steve just added that as I was playing around with this. And I can be like, that's awesome, kind of thing. And then, right, he just kind of moves it around there.
Thank you.
So if you want to manage the connection, we'll go in reverse here shortly, but since I'm in control, this is my board. If I go up to the silhouette here, what I am able to do is message Steve. I can call him or have it, let's say, oh, wait, I need to talk to Steve. I can just click on FaceTime and it'll FaceTime him. The current participants are Steve. I get his contact information. I can see what his cursor is, and then if I want to manage this, I can add more people to it. I can copy the link, send it to someone, and if I want to stop sharing, I can do that. Or if I just want to make sure that, now I just want to make it view only. I click on that, and Steve will not be able to make any changes to it.
Hey,
But basically, that's how it works. So, and it works the exact same way I showed you on the iPad, but pretty much, as you saw, the interface to this is the same on the Mac. Steve, why don't you go ahead and create a new board and send it to me, and I'll show them how it works on the reverse side, what you had to go through when I sent you that link.
I will. Thank you. Before I do that, just wanted to say, although we're not going to be able to show you on screen in Zoom this, but it's so cool on the iPad to have Freeform opened and then use split view. So I can pull up my photos, and that's how I got the photo on there, and just put my finger on the photo I wanted, dragged over to the left, and dropped it right onto the canvas.
So what he did is he went split view.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And he went to photos.
Uh-huh.
And basically he just took this.
Oh, that's the whole album.
Oh, thank you.
And dragged and dropped it right over.
Yeah,
And I did the
close that
same
back
thing
up.
with the pie chart out of
Oh, and numbers?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I opened up numbers on one side, selected the chart I wanted, and just drag and dropped it right on the canvas.
Could also do that with slide over. So you could just go to the three dots and we can go to slide over. And let's open up photos. Drag that over. And now I want this to be back in full screen. And there it is. So, all right, Steve, go ahead and send me a link and I'll show them how it works on the reverse side of it.
Okay, so I've opened up my canvas that I created before, and that actually Dan did a lot of graffiti and.
Oh yeah, you're going to see my fantastic artwork.
Yes. No, not that one.
Oh, all right.
And I'm tapping on the share button on the top right in Freeform. I have the canvas opened already.
So he's tapping on this.
Right. And on the top, it will say, it'll have the title of the canvas, and then it'll say only invited people can edit. So it's confirming at the top, even before I send it to him, that I'm about to send an invitation and what capabilities he's going to have. So I'm tapping on the messages icon. I type in his name. Let's see, there it is. And I tap the send button.
So that's basically what he did. So now I'm going to get a message here. There it is. And it's retrieving the board. It opens it up. And there's my board, or our board, or his board. And what I'm able to do is go in here and, I could, like we say, go in here and draw graffiti on this, kind of thing.
That's right.
So that's, basically how collaboration works. It really, as you can see, it's really simple. And the most simplistic, the easiest way is just go to share and share the link with someone via messages. And if they have Freeform, they're going to be able to open it up and work on it. And thank you, Steve, for mentioning this link here, only invited people. So he set this up to only invited people. So it's not like anybody can just kind of pick this up. You have to be invited. But it is super simple. And if you wanted to go and change that, I can't change it because that's his drawing. But this is my drawing here. If I wanted to change my settings, I can go in here and change my settings for it. So that, basically that's a look at how Freeform works and what you can do with it. Think of it as like Apple says, it's a sketching kind of thing, and you could collaborate, and you could do websites, get different website ideas, and this points to that, or you could do outlines with it. You could do flow charts with it. What is the process of this? All that. You just start working on it, and as you can see, you can have multiple people work on it at the same time. So Steve's working on it as I'm just sitting here, chatting about it. Does anyone have any questions on this?
Dan, I have a question, not on Freeform right now, but just getting in. I had trouble getting in because it asked for a code, and then I typed in everything I could think of, and it said incorrect code. So it took me about 10 minutes to get in.
Ooh, sorry about that.
I had the same thing too.
Oops. I noticed that. I noticed that it didn't have a password, so I went and added my standard password, Dan's Tutors. Dan's Tutors. I probably shouldn't have done that. I noticed that it didn't have a password, so I'm like, oh, let me put a password on it.
There was nothing in the ticket that had it. There was a security code and ID code, other things, but no password.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'll make sure that I don't do that again. So I just oversight on my part.
The calendar works great. Everything's available there.
Well, that was the only way I was finally able to get in. That's why I was late.
Okay, good. Well, at least that my fail safe works. Just go to the website, right? So.
I have a question.
No, not even from the website. I couldn't get in through the website. Fortunately, when I got the ticket, I added it to my calendar earlier today.
Oh.
So that's the only way. But at the website, I couldn't get in.
Because I changed it at the last minute. I should know better.
That's okay. I have a question actually about Freeform.
Yeah.
Because when you were showing this, I was like, well, when you think about it, this is kind of like Keynote, but because I was thinking, why would I want to use this versus Keynote? Think about it.
It is, and a lot of people. a lot of people will use Keynote, like you're saying, for just to brainstorm and all that. The problem that I think why this is better than Keynote is you're not stuck to a rigid. You're not going to be able to just kind of do this stuff and move things around, and Keynote is designed to be make really great looking presentations, and the way that it does that is through styles. So everything kind of has to look the same because they don't want you they don't want you to kind of have one slide that looks completely different from another. So you're kind of stuck within their framework, although it is very, very flexible, especially when you get into their layouts and all that. But for brainstorming, and you're not going to be able to collaborate like this, like what Steve and I are doing. You're not going to, So I think they have two different, I think people were using Keynote for something like this because there wasn't anything else. Now there is.
I see what you're saying, but that that's a very valid point about the restrictions of Keynote versus this is just free form. But if you also think about it, if you do want a little bit of restrictions, okay, you could essentially do it in Keynote. But if you want free form, yes.
Right. Yeah, you want free
One thing
form,
I'm
and
also looking at is because the one thing with Keynote, you have the different pages, and you can go from one page to the other. Versus this, you got the different slides, or essentially, or freeform pages.
Yeah, and you could use Keynote is almost like the old HyperCard kind of thing. You could link slides to each other, and when you tap on this button, it'll go to this slide, and but that's a presentation again. With this, I don't think of this as a presentation. This is a brainstorming. This is where Steve and I could talk about, put together, like, what do we want to talk about in that presentation? Well, I think we should talk about, and I can go in here and, being that I have a pencil, we should talk about, wrong one. We should talk about Disney and world or land, kind of thing. And then he can put, so it's a way. And, that'd be kind of cool. So I think what we should do is we should have, a slide. I just moved this over here. And he's like, okay. And I could be like, well, let's use, I'm going to add that same picture in there just because it's there. Let's have this be the first one. But I think what we should do is add, I could draw an arrow on there. And then from there, what we can do is we can take this and actually build our Keynote presentation. So this is where we put all of our ideas together. Keynote is where we put it, or put all our ideas down, and Keynote is where you kind of put it all together.
Can you move this board to Keynote? In other words, if I design the board, could I take a screenshot and move it to Keynote?
No, there's, as far as I know, there is not. You can save the board as a PDF and put that PDF in a Keynote presentation, but no, there's not any kind of direct link between the two. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So don't think of it as a, like I said, I think, and this is just coming off the top of my head, but when I think about it, I think people were using Keynote as a freeform board because there was not any other tool to do that. Now there is a tool to do that, so you don't need to use Keynote for that. But some people are just so good at it and comfortable with it, they could still keep doing it. But in my case, if I were to freeform with my sister on something, maybe we're going somewhere, or like I have my friends, we're going to go to Arizona tomorrow. We have friends over there in Phoenix, and they don't understand Keynote. But they're certainly going to figure this thing out. So what I could do is be like, well, we need to go hike. Someone told us about this trail over here, and the elevation goes up, 3,000 K or whatever. And, then they'll be like, no way am I doing that, So, you wouldn't be able to do that with Keynote. You really, just my mom would be able to figure this out. She's 82, and I think she'd be able to figure this out. It's a pretty simple program. She's not going to figure out Keynote. That's not her thing. She probably never opened up Keynote.
Yeah, I was just going to say that when you think about this, Zoom and all video conferencing tools usually have a built-in whiteboard, but it's usually they're kind of clunky little kind of add-ons that you can sort of work it out. But for Apple users, this is a very sophisticated whiteboard. So you can have a virtual meeting, like you think of yourself in a in-person meeting where you're standing at a whiteboard and you're just brainstorming ideas and you're erasing things and putting other things in. And then often in an in-person whiteboard session, you might take screenshots of that to remind yourself later when you put together your keynote presentation or whatever.
Right.
So this is, for those of us that are very familiar with the Apple methodology of doing things, the conventions, much like you can in Keynote and iPhoto, this is just an easier to use brainstorming tool or mind mapping tool that you can do virtually, remotely, rather than in person, standing in front of a whiteboard.
Mind mapping is a great, that's what you're mind mapping for the most part.
And you can erase ideas and add more, and then do sequential boards that you save and think about how you got to that point in the discussion. Oh, well, yeah, back there we went down this path, and now suddenly, we realize that's not a good path. Now we're going to go down this path. You can kind of see the progression of the ideas,
right?
Which would be a little harder to do in Keynote, which is more of a finishing tool.
Yeah, yep. So I use a program called MindNode. I've used it forever. It's a mind mapping. You may have heard of it. And essentially, and I mean, I hate to say it for MindNode. I mean, it does have its purpose, but for me, this is a much better tool because MindNode, kind of like Keynote, you're stuck within their box. And with this, I do love the free form idea of all this. I can go in here and select anything like I don't want that, and I can delete it. I'm not going to be able to draw on there like I can here, but I can still connect all of my stuff, like my node and figure all that stuff out. But it can do a little bit more,
To me, this is just Apple looking at whiteboarding tools and Zoom and that,
Yep.
and going, we can build a better mousetrap that anybody that's an Apple user can collaborate virtually, no matter what device they're on. So, as you and Steve are doing, one of you could be on a Mac, one can be on an iPad, another person can be on an iPhone. So everybody can collaborate in the meeting and do save their own versions of the whiteboards.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So there we are, drawing a picture together there. And what's really nice about this is I could go up to, the share icon, and I could start a video FaceTime call with Steve, and we'd be able to collaborate on this while we're doing the video. So it is a replacement for Zoom in that aspect, but it's much simpler. Nothing against Zoom, but Zoom does a lot, and sometimes all you want to do is just work together on this board, and kind of talk to each other through FaceTime. So it's an Apple only thing, but this Apple really did a good job with this thing. So somebody asked, could go over the replace thing again. Sure. So where's Goofy in here? So I need to, let's just say this board is, it's getting full. And the other thing it will do, my handwriting is so horrible, so you're not going to be able to see that, but it will find text that you wrote out as well when you do find. But basically, I want to say that's not Goofy. That's more Mickey. Shouldn't we say, where's Mickey? So I want to do a find and replace. So I do Command F, and then down at the bottom here, when I click on the magnifying glass, we go to find and replace. On the Mac, I'll just go Command F, and we have the same kind of thing. And basically what this does is this splits the find and replace into two different things. What do I want to find? And you can do this on Keynote. This is not a Freeform. This is more of an Apple kind of thing. Pages has it. So I would just go where it is Goofy. And I could even make it match the case. So it won't find it because Goofy is title case. And if I turn this on, you can see it didn't find it because it's looking for title case. So now I go back over here to Goofy, and now it found it. And I want to replace that with Mickey. And now I just go over to replace. Now we can see it says Mickey. So wherever you have that text, it'll do it. Let me see if, I'm going to write on here, see if I can get a good, it's part of my bad handwriting, and I do have bad handwriting, but it's also the angle that I'm at. But I'm just going to go here, Ron, right? Let's see if it can find that. So Command F, and I need to turn title case off. I'm just going to turn that off. And Ron, see if it finds it. Didn't find it. Maybe it doesn't. I thought it did text. I'll just go to find. And maybe it can't find it. Did I do it right? Ron, yep. Yeah, looks like it's not finding handwritten text. I thought maybe it would, but doesn't look like it is. Steve has much better handwriting than I do. So that, what's that?
Sometimes.
Yeah. So that's, basically that's a look at how Freeform works and how you can use it. And I think it's pretty powerful. I really haven't used it too much yet. And for me, not using it too much, it's pretty, I picked up on it pretty good. And I do plan on using it for other things. I use Mind Mode every once in a while. I need to get something out of my head and just kind of put it in a proper order. Well, this will allow me to do that. And then I can easily change it around and all that. And these boards, like I say, can get really, really large. So if I go over here, you can see as I keep moving that out, this board just keeps growing. So you can put a lot of information on this,
Does the percentage number at the bottom left have anything to do with the size of the board?
It looks like it's just stuck at 10%, so I can't make it any.
You
Nope.
can tap on the percentage and also change it there.
So I can zoom fit to content. That didn't work. Zoom to selection. And 10%. Yeah. No. Looks like 10% is as low as it goes. These things aren't getting any smaller. If I move over here, you're going to see they don't get any smaller, but the board is getting larger. So it's not going to get any smaller. It's just going to keep getting larger and larger, the board, the physical size of the board. And I have not seen a limitation on this board. I'm sure they must have some limitation, but you could, really just say, okay, this is, go to pencil here. This is one web page. Now, let's go and draw another web page over here. Let's do another one over here. And you can see you could get quite extensive in there. Or a home layout. Maybe you want to change your furniture around. Just anything like that. You can just start drawing on it. And being that I do have a pencil, but you don't have to have a pencil. You can obviously just use this. My pencil is tucked away right now. I'm just drawing with my finger. So.
Dan, if you wanted to confine it to 8.5 by 11 so you could print out on a piece of paper, can you put rulers or guidelines?
That is a great question. I don't know. I'm going to say no. I do not see anything like that at all. So I'm going to say no, not that I know of. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I wonder what happens if you were to export that as a PDF, and then like when you open up the PDF, how large is that really going to be? Just to answer like his question. And one thing I will say is that now that's something you can't do on Keynote is have such a large area.
Right.
So that is but that is a very good question about when you export it out to a PDF, what does it look like?
Okay, I'm just going to save this to my desktop here. It's going to save it as a PDF. So if I go to my files here.
Answer to your question.
Yeah, go for it there it is. mean, it shows it as
Yeah.
8.5 by 11, but I don't. It just goes, it looks like it crops it, so it could be all different kinds of odd sizes. Let's just go and print it. And see print preview. With print, we do have our print preview. So it's putting it on that. Let's just make this a little bit taller. Well, I can't, but you can kind of see what it does. It's going to fit to an 8.5 by 11.
Oh,
And it's supposed
nice.
to be, your limit is what?
Steve, did you just add that last part there?
I did. What I was doing was trying to drag and drop a
Right. Well, was it?
Safari web link off of Safari onto the page.
What was interesting there, though, is I have this in the print dialog box. That preview changed because Steve went and changed the size of the paper. He added something else, and it wouldn't change it. Go ahead and move that down a little bit lower, Steve, or add another object below that, and watch what happens with the preview.
Okay, let me pull that up again here. What's weird is, let me see if I put it in show reader mode, the page in reader mode.
Or maybe it didn't. This is a PDF, so maybe it wasn't. Maybe it just took a minute to figure out that size. So maybe it wasn't Steve. But anyway, basically we'll try to fit it to the correct size. So let's see. Freeform settings on iPad for guides. What does that mean, Tom? In the settings app let's take a look at the settings app and see if there's Freeform. Center guides, edge guides, space guides, select and scroll. So not a whole lot there. I turned edge guides on. So let's go back over to Freeform. And yeah, I don't know what edge guides mean. But yeah. So it'll make the back on the print thing. It'll just make it as large as it needs to be, apparently. So, All right. Any other questions on this? Like I say, I'll have a little more detailed for each device. So that will be coming in the next couple of weeks. And outside of that, next week I will be having an collaborate on Freeform project with messages. I did that one already. Looks like I got my slides off a little bit. So there it is, the wrap up. Next week, I'll be having one of my standard AMAs. So, sign up for that. And outside of that, if you know anyone that could benefit from my classes, webinars, videos, if you go to my videos, you're going to start seeing I'm rolling out these a little bit longer form videos with chapters. I hope you like them. It's a little more fun for me to create them, so I definitely like that. And yeah, thanks everyone. If you know anyone that could benefit, let them know.
You bet. You're going to put up a recording of the class.
Yeah, this will go up tomorrow. And what you will be able to do is, watch the video. It's going to be on the event page. So all you have to do is just go back to the event page. If you go to my site, you'll see past events, and it'll be right there, and you'll be able to watch it. Yep.
Okay. I'll be doing that because I was
All right. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Steve, for helping me out. That was awesome. And yeah, I'm going to turn Spotlight off here and turn off the recording.